Welcome to a new video on this channel, a video where I will be talking about cameras, and in this case this Zeiss Ikon Nettar. And first, before I talk about a bit more about the specifics about this one I have in front of me, I will talk a bit about general about the camera. There were different versions of the Zeiss Ikon Nettar made between 1933 and 1958 with both vertical and horizontal folders. Mine is horizontal, and the film used in these cameras were 120 millimeters. There were different type offered for the exposures, 6x6 or 6x4.5 or 6x9 centimeters format with different lenses and a variety of shutters. The Nettar was advertised as a camera for amateur photographers, which means people like me. I'm not a professional, I'm very much so an amateur. Now over to this very camera we have in front of us. Mine is Zeiss Ikon Nettar, and I think the model is 500/16. They have been the naming of these cameras are a bit strange. Well, if it is 517/16, this camera was produced between 1951 and 1957. And as I mentioned earlier, this is a horizontal folding, which means the camera opens this way. And yeah. And just first, before we go into details, I will go into a bit of the buttons and stuff on the outside. So this is the shutter button, this one over here. This one is the shutter button. This button is the one that opens the front, and so the lens came out, and this one here is the film advancer, and under here in the middle you have a tripod socket, and this one here opens the back side of the camera. And for this next thing I'm going to show, I have to put the camera down so I can use both hands. To get this one out, this is where this one is where I put the film. You have to lift this one up, then take it up, and do the exact same thing here on this side. But for the moment I'll put this back here. And shut the back side. So, well, now for more of the details on the camera. Yes, and the film on this one is 120 millimeters, which produce, in this case, 6x6 centimeters exposure image squares. I said there earlier that there were some different exposure measurements, either 6x4, 6x4.5 or 6x6 or 6x9 centimeters. And this version of Zeiss Ikon Nettar comes with either one of two lenses. Either it comes with the Novar Anastigmat 1 6.3/75 millimeters with a Vario leaf shutter, or you could have a Novar Anastigmat 4.5/75 millimeters in a Vario or Pronto SV leaf shutter. But I have the first one in this one, which is the Novar Anastigmat 1.6.3 /75 millimeters, or F 75 millimeters as it said here, with a Vario leaf shutter. Shutter speeds on this one, which you can see over here. See if we can zoom in here for a bit. I don't know if you see the B, or the little B is either bulb B, which stands for bulb, it's 125, 175, or 200. That's the shutter speed. And the apparatus for this one is 6.3 to 22, and you can, let's zoom in here again. In this case you can here's where you choose the apparatus. If you want to go from 6.3 up here down to 22, which is down here. Yeah. And this one here in the front, where you can see where it says 6.3 down to 22, which is the apparatus. This is the shutter selection dial, which you move like, to zoom out here. Which you have to move like this. This on this camera is a bit stiff, I've noticed, so I have to do something about that later. Yeah, and this one is connected to the shutter button. So when you pull this one, the camera is ready to take a photo, so you just press down the shutter button right there. So yeah, and over here we have a flash sync, and the measurements for the camera when the lens is in, and when you pull in the lens you just push these two and then push backwards. The measurements for this one is 135 times 100 times 45 millimeters, and the weight, and the camera weighs about 550 550 grams, sorry. And yeah. And something I realized that I forgot, this one here, this little, so you can open so. This is so you can see when you're enhancing the film, when you have filming. And now a bit about how I found this camera. The last one I did here, which was the Voigtlander Prekeo 1, I found at a flea market, and this one I found at an auction site on the internet, a Swedish auction site. And yeah, I liked it, and I've been looking for a Zeiss Ikon Nettar for a while. And according to the former owner, this is actually working, and I have to go and find some film and see if I can get this going, and maybe take it to the photo store and see if they can help me with the this one, the selection dial, which I mentioned earlier, the shutter selection dial, and see if they can help, if there is anything else that needs to be fixed. And this is everything for this video. Thank you very much.